Welcome back to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, where in the top right hand corner we have the man who for a long time was considered to have the very best Terran versus Protoss on the planet. We have none other than Cure, of course, playing for Team Liquid. Down in the bottom left with the red Protoss pieces, someone I don't feature on the channel nearly as much, but recently I was very impressed when he went up against another top-tier competitor. We're looking inside of the main base of Nightmare. Now, Nightmare is one of those players who's been steadily climbing through the pro gaming ranks over the years. Maybe not quite yet at like the top 20 just yet, but he's making big strides in that direction. Now, taking on somebody like Cure is going to be an uphill battle. But let's see, apparently Cure at the very least is thinking that he might be able to just get a very quick 1-0 advantage. Double proxy barracks going up on the other side of the map. Probe Scout, though, critically, is going across. Gateway is not positioned in such a way that he would be able to stop like a Reaper getting into the main. We only have a single probe over here. He's going to see the lack of a barracks up on the high ground, which should at the very least prompt a Zealot. The norm is to skip the Zealot if you see that everything is normal, but I think in this instance, we have to build it. There we go. Cybercore comes up as well. Fair enough. You will see the start right now of the orbital command. And when you see that there is an orbital command, well, it can only ever mean that there is indeed a barracks out there somewhere, because it, of course, does have the requirement. Zealot is going to finish up here. First SCV here on the other side of the map does get spotted. It's going to be a Marauder all-in. Yep. We'll probably see the concussive shells start up in just a moment, but Cure for now is going to be pumping those bad boys here 2 at a time. Now, how do you respond? Do you go Stargate? Void Rays obviously would be amazing. Okay, for now we're going Shield Battery and a Stalker. Everything's kind of expensive, that's the problem. Okay, he's going Robo. Robo Facility is a little bit cheaper, especially in the gas cost, for... well, instead of the Stargate, right? For any sort of production here. Immortals are really good. Prisms are maybe even better. But will it all be done in time? That's the question. Cure is going to be committing here in just a moment. Obviously, that's always the question here too, right? As the Terran, when do you go for the attack? Well, apparently, the time has come right now. Concussive Shell's not yet done. That Stalker needs to be incredibly careful. An Immortal, though, is going to be pricey too. Like, if Nightmare wants to make an Immortal... yeah, he needs to stop spending money here for a while and actually just start saving up. But here we go. The concussive shells are done. Shield Battery, though, is, of course, incredibly nice. And that Zealot is still here to buy a bit of time. I think we need to commit. Cure doesn't know, though. He doesn't really know exactly what the response is going to be. Immortal, indeed, is coming. Immortals absolutely plow through anything that has armor. And obviously, these Marauders certainly do. Cheeky game to start this off. Backs up to the safety of the shield battery. Needs to manually retarget if he wants to keep multiples of these units alive. Plenty of firepower so far in those Marauders, but I don't think there's really enough of them available to properly shut this down. The double shield batteries was just about perfect. Energy recharge as well onto the shield battery, and now the Immortal spawns. Apparently we're going double Immortal. I wonder if we should go Immortal into Prism. But I guess as long as the Immortal can chill here on the high ground, everything's A-okay. Yeah, this has been unfortunate for Cure. There's a few different situations he could run into. This feels overly aggressive, doesn't it? Why are we out here, Nightmare? I think the Immortal is going to die. Yeah. Marauder also, though, gets sliced in half. And, well, Nightmare doesn't really care. In his mind, this game is already in the books. Because at this point, it's do or die for Cure. And he hasn't really been able to achieve a whole lot. I mean, you can't counterattack as soon as a Prism is out, which is coming at this point. But for Cure, right, he could have gone up against a Protoss player that didn't Probe Scout. He could have gone up against a Protoss player who positioned their structures on top of the high ground here. So maybe he could actually shut down one of those pylons. Yeah, at this point, the game is an absolute disaster. Supply-wise, well, Nightmare is already incredibly far ahead. He's preparing for even a proxy nexus. Okay, it's one of the things I've always liked about Nightmare's playstyle. He's very good at playing normal StarCraft, but he has a little bit of that craziness in him. Why in the world would we respond with a proxy nexus right now? Maybe it was in anticipation of something being a bit more fishy on the side of the Terran there. He was ready for the base race, but... Alright, instead we're going knocking on the front door of the Terran. There is a bunker protecting the high ground, but the prism is here. And that is going to make, well, bringing those units up into the main base way easier than trying to break up through the ramp. We're going to be able to warp in a couple additional units. GG gets called. It's Nightmare who wins game number 1. And that already takes us to the map Ley Lines. Perfect defense right there from Nightmare. Not really running into any issues whatsoever. I think the first sacrificial immortal was a little bit much. But I think in his mind, all he needed to do was defend and then eventually counterattack. And obviously, he still ended up getting like 5 Marauders or so for that single immortal. Cure trying to get a quick 1-0 lead. He may have accidentally, well, confused himself there a little bit. You know when you get like a high-level Pokemon and they accidentally cast stuff and they hit themselves into progress? Not ideal. That's effectively what Cure just did. Alright, so back to the drawing board. This time around, a good old barracks up onto the high ground and a gas inside of the main base too. Now, this particular series is from Wardy's Korean Royale Tournament. So it's going to be all Koreans and then Raynor, who is currently over in Korea. Some phenomenal games. I will certainly be casting some more of them as well. So if you are interested in checking those out, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. So you will get notified as soon as future videos do go live. Nightmare, though, he's one of those players, right, who has been steadily making progress. I think another great example, maybe even a better example, would be Percival. I've been casting some Percival games here and there, but Percival really has been impressive as of late. Taking games, series off of some of the very best players on the planet. Obviously, the problem you run into, right, is that the top-level players in StarCraft 2, say, for example, a Clem, or, for example, a Raynor, or, for example, a Cure, they're practicing a ton. They're always playing. So, you have to improve faster than they do, and... well, oftentimes you will find yourself in a situation where someone is maybe just more talented, maybe they're just better at the game overall, and trying to, improve at a faster rate than they do is not so easily achieved. There's quite a few players that get, like, really close to the tippity top of the skill level, and I think Nightmare is basically there. I consider Cure to be one of the absolute best Terrans ever. I think Nightmare is pretty much there, but if you ask any Protoss player out there, who do you think is like the top 10 Protoss of all time? Nightmare is not a name that will necessarily come up. And so far, at least in 2025, he's been impressive. So maybe he can change that a little bit. Either way, it's going to be a Twilight Council this time around. I quite like it, by the way, that Nightmare now, absolute Giga Chad Nightmare, is not scouting with a probe. I mean, you're going up against Cure, who's the favorite in the series. Do you really expect he would go for a double proxy Rex back-to-back? Doesn't make any sense. Cure probably is not going to risk it. So this time around, Nightmare is skipping out on that probe scout. And this time around, ironically, the Marauder proxy would have worked. Now, we kill the SCV, we recall the Adept, and it just barely does not complete. Nightmare getting a little bit of that hero-esque confidence here. It's one of the most fun things in current StarCraft to see Hero just walking around every map like he owns the place. Still, though, that's a play as well that could have happened to Hero there, where he maybe just got a little bit overzealous. The Reapers, of course, attack pretty quickly, and even though they don't do a lot of damage, they're still going to be good enough to finish off some of those low HP units. Well, speaking of low HP units, they're looking right now at the probe line. He's mostly trying to figure out what the tech is going to be, so, yep, there we go. He's found where all of the pylons are located, therefore he knows where he can find those tech structures, and in this particular instance, it's going to be good old Blink. So, this is the most normal way to start off as Protoss. We have Double Gate for now. There's a pretty quick Robo facility here too, but none of this is all too crazy. Third Nexus is fast though, so he's building up the third Nexus off of only 2 gates. Technically a little bit risky, but he's dancing in the middle of the map against the Medevac, trying to buy some time here, sacrificing the Adept, trying to buy some time so the Nexus can maybe live for just a little bit longer. Not that many Stalkers available just yet, there's only 3 of them. That Reaper could have been dead. Kjør decides to play this very conservatively, so he knows that Blink is going to be done soon, but he doesn't know, well now he does, he doesn't know how many gateways there are. He has to restart the attack right now. A Robo Bay on the Beckett is already here for Nightmare. Very fast. He wants to go into Colossi, but I think it's going to be quite difficult to actually hold the first proper attack. Still though, we've seen a lot of Terran players recently get very cautious. At this point, Kjør is basically just hoping to get a lucky hit in with the tank. It's one of those weird spots for the Terran, right? Where previously the kill on the third Nexus was pretty much guaranteed if he would have actually committed to the push. But because he didn't know, he hadn't seen the timing of the opponent's third Nexus, and he didn't count the amount of gateways there were in total. Since he didn't know, he couldn't really commit, and now, well, he's missed the timing window. He may still go for a delayed attack, but this is going to be a push right now without Stimpak. So, yeah, we end up in a situation where you have a load of units. You have the tanks available, of course, and they can siege up. But now Protoss has had some time to build up the superior economy and use it to build up some additional units. Stalker Micro, though, has to be on point. Colossus is coming. Raven gets sniped. Nice targeting there. Cyclone goes down, but a Stalker or two also end up falling. Aggressive blink forward. Energy recharge onto the shield battery. Yeah, great hold. Great hold right here by Nightmare. Dude, Nightmare's kind of owning. Okay. Proxy Pylon goes down in the middle of the map. Sure. Why give them any room to breathe? Kjør has to now retreat. Making the flight of shame with the Medevac. No third command center. I mean, we have Stimpak, Combat Shields +1, all of it coming up. They're not really in sync very much. The Combat Shields and the +1 will finish up right around the same time, but usually Stimpak is also finishing right before that. I mean, if he can snipe Stimpak, that would be massive. Ooh, Medevac, Medevac, Medevac! Misplay there from Kjør, gets punished immediately. And this is going from bad to worse right now for our Terran. Yeah. He needs to go for a command center. There's really nothing else you can do. At this point, you're playing survival. You can always commit to a base race, I suppose, if you're ever in a situation where Protoss attacks you, but I don't think he can really go for any sort of timing right now. Dark Shrine on the back of this, sure. I mean, we already built a proxy pylon, may as well try and use it. Observers are surrounding the main as well as the natural, so we have Stalkers at the front. Now, 2 Marines. These are the Marines that didn't fit in the medevac that ended up going down. They were just sitting in the top left-hand corner. Bzzzt. That'll be the end of them. Well, there is Nightmare's thermal lens fully extended. You'll love to see it. And then the gateways are finishing up. 4th Nexus also begins. Kjør needs to do something here. Now, obviously, Terran does have the mules, right? So they can at the very least get some decent mining going here. Nightmare with more workers now for quite a long time. Not really reflected yet, though, in the army supply count. So if we look at the army size, even though nothing's really gone particularly well here for Kjør, he does have a roughly the same army here, at least as far as the supply count goes, as Nightmare does. But the problem is that his tech is way lower. Like, it's Marine Marauder, Medevac, Mine, and then a tank. All right. Going up against, well, no High Templar, interestingly enough. We've got to focus on Dark Templar instead. That's very weird. Most Protoss players would use this as an opportunity now to go into the Dank Templar. Observer, though, at the front has scouted that there's no detection available. So just run them in. We'll start slicing up. Now, Scan over here immediately reveals it. Nice movement right there by the Terran. He noticed the blur. Committed to 2 scans, though, which is quite pricey. Prism thinking about going into the main base. Charge is done. Oh. It's a little bit awkward. Yeah, Medevac there was healing the Marine that he was trying to kill. Oof. Follow up immediately with Disruptors as well. So we have 3 Colossi. Zealots in the main. Yeah, it's still a difficult Terran army to crack, though. Kjør's doing a good job here defending. Prism does slip away. Maybe Disruptors can help out a little bit in that regard, but dude, he's making more and more Dark Templar. So Dark Templar into Archons is considered to be more expensive than High Templar into Archons. It doesn't matter that much, but Storm is an incredible tool in this matchup, especially since the new patch. Apparently Nightmare is completely ignoring it. Still going Arcals though, but instead opting to get his splash damage out of the Robo facility and then the Robo Bay. Cure is going for a move out, but he does not know that the Protoss army was right out his front door. I don't think he can go home. Nope, he's not going to go home. Well, the third command center is dying within seconds. There is a fifth Nexus over here at the bottom, but yeah, Cure is looking right now, and he realizes that the situation that he's in is a full-on base race. Now, all right, knocking on the front door is the Disruptor. The win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. The army units do not matter. As long as the structures tab over here is empty, this game is done. Protoss can obviously reinforce quite quickly. There's the proxy Nexus that we saw Nightmare attempt in the previous game. This time around, it seems to be for real. Workers, though, are dying left, right, and center. And obviously, the age-old adage still goes that you do not base race a Terran because their structures fly. Cure is leaving. He's getting out of here. He's bringing everything towards the top left-hand corner of the map. In the meantime, though, Nightmare, I mean, he is using the Dark Templar. I kind of love the Dark Templar. You cannot scan unless the orbital command is on the ground. At this point, there is no mobile detection. The Raven ended up getting sniped earlier, and Cure decides to tap out just like that. The Dark Templar, way too oppressive in this particular situation. Very odd decisions across the board from Nightmare, at least when you compare it to what we see, the likes of MaxSpecs, the likes of Showtime, the likes of Hero, the likes of Classic. When we think of like the very best Protoss players in the world, none of them would really choose to play like this. But Nightmare, I mean, he made it look pretty straightforward there with Dark Templar.